friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well, staying healthy, enjoying life, and must be planning to improve your life. Here we are to do so. Here, daily we read a chapter of a novel to develop reading habit to improve our English, including reading, writing, speaking, vocabulary at the same time enhancing our knowledge. As we know, reading is the best practice to develop all these things, which helps us in a many ways. And reading could be one of the good hobby to make a change in ourselves, as we have heard from many prominent personalities that books changed their life, add values, widen their knowledge. We can live others' life by reading a book and get all those experience and learn from their mistake. So why to commit same mistake if we can learn from them and improve our life? So join me in this journey to become best version of ourselves. Before starting, I would love to hear your thought in comment section. Remember to like, share with your loved ones to change their life as well. And don't forget to subscribe my channel. Press the bell icon for daily updates. And today we are going to read the same novel which is like it happened yesterday, and today we are going to read each chapter of that. Already we have completed 7 chapter. If you didn't watch, you can watch previous video to get better understanding of this novel. So today we are going to start with this chapter. I have a pen. This is pen, not a pen. Many people pronounce it a pen, but pen means you have some kind of H, but that is not thing. This is called pen. So let's start. It was when I got to class fifth. Sorry, sixth. It was when I got to class sixth that I started feeling truly mature. I think it had to do with two major change in my life. Okay, so author is here when he went to in the class 6th. He started feeling a mature. There was a reason behind this. First was first an ink pen replaced my pencil. It made a big difference when I felt it presence in my hands, in my pencil box, and in my shirt's pocket. I remember how obsessed I used to be with my ink pen. I loved this nib, and that to me was the most beautiful part of pen. In my free time, I was quite normal for me. It was quite normal for me to keep staring at the nib of my pen, and wonder how that thing was so nicely carved at the corner. I would be amazed to observe how that shelled semicircle of metal ended in such a sharp pointed tip. However, the most beautiful aspect of her pen for me was to watch how, right through the center of its shiny interior, a uh, superfine channel of ink flowed and took the shape of a letter on a paper. It was love at first sight. I would spend 50 to 20 minutes every day night checking the level of ink left in my pen and refilling it with a dropper. At the end of my refilling exercise, I would seal the lid of my chair park ink bottle and then wipe the extra ink off the outer surface of my pen, especially the surface of the nib around the thick ink channel. I wanted to need to be as clean as and shiny as possible. If there was ever a leakage, I would rub the pen against my hair. I had learned doing that from my tuition sir. If I if ever there was a point in time when I felt grow up, this was it. And with my growing up, it was also start expecting other grown up privilege. I remember one day before the pen had made it entirely into my life, while I was doing my science homework of fill in the blanks for a lesson called healthy breakfast. I had asked my mother, why do I have to drink only milk? Why can't I drink tea like you? Because You are a kid, came the reply, and tea isn't good for kids. When you grow up, you can start having tea. VG sharpening my pencil, I thought about what she had said. So when will I be grown up? Mom looked at me and then at the pencil that I had been sharpening. She answered, "The day you will start writing with a pen." And she had smiled. Since that day, I had started associating the use of pen with the status of being a grown up. I had been waiting for a long time to get into class 6 because that's when, according to our curriculum, we were supposed to start writing with pens. And when I did get into class 6, I claimed my license to drink tea. The second major milestone of growing up for me to become the proud owner of bicycle. Getting the bicycle was not easy. I had long craved for it and had been demanding it for years. Time and again, I used to bring up the subject of would be cycle, my would be a cycle, and time and again I was denied one. तो हेल से छोटा है साइकिल चलाना वास्ते यू आर स्टिल टू यंग टू राइड अ बाइसिकल मॉम हैड said one day when I had initiated the topic पर देशवेश और मंदीप भी छोटे हैं वो कोल साइकिल है but देशवेश and Mandeep are young as well they have bicycle I argued what about Anju, Meena, Rashmi? Mom countered. Mom, they are girls. I try to bring in the gender difference for my benefit. But my mother was not going to retreat. She threw a few boys' names at me who she knew didn't have a bicycle. I wanted to get back at her and even had a very reasonable argument, but for some reason I couldn't say that to her face, knowing it wouldn't hold. I didn't deviate the subject further. I expressed my annoyance by not talking to her that evening. However, in a short while, Mom began to serve food to my brother and me. While Tinku ate his food, I kept staring at him blankly. I was hungry. But on the other side, I was putting up a non-violence act of protest. Mom was still in a kitchen making a few chapati for dad. So there was a two reason for, according to the author, as consider himself as a grown up. First was that when he will started writing, when he started writing with a pen in class 6, that that he will be considered a grown up child. And second, when he will grown up, he will be provided with the bicycle. So there was a two main reason. So that's why uh, author was associated so much with the that pen. And second was bicycle which he got later on, and there was some of the reason uh, so that he was not getting because of some of the financial which he got to know afterward. So he started non-violence because his mother countered that you are too young for have a bicycle. So he argued that there is a boy they Devens and Mandeep, who is also a younger, but they had a bicycle, but their mom argued. His mom argued that there is just some of the girls, so he brings the gender in between. Then she also countered some of the boys' name who had not has a cycle, so then he didn't feel to argue anymore, and he tried to protest non-violence protest, and he decided that he will not have a breakfast, but he was not noticeable because he was sitting on the dining table and her mother was in kitchen making a chapati. So let's see what is next. At first, I was determined not to eat unless mom agreed to buy me a bicycle. A little later, when I felt hungrier, I resolved that I had started eating as soon as mom shouted at me for not eating. That was the point to which I would stretch my ego. But nothing of sort happened. Being in a kitchen, mom was not even aware that I was not eating, and she didn't shout. So he determined that I will not eat unless mom agreed to buy me a cycle. But little later, or after some time, she will shout to have a breakfast, and then he will stretch his argument to have a bicycle. But unfortunately, her mother was busy in kitchen, so she even didn't notice and was not aware that her kid was kids were not having breakfast. So after that, he resolved his decision and start having breakfast because he was so hungry. Soon emotion and hunger acted in unison and broke me down. And that that's when my eyes turned moist. Gradually, though bent eyelashes, the food in front of me became blurred. Tinku looked at me. I looked back at him. Seeing me in that condition made him somewhat confused. He got off his chair and went to a kitchen. The very thought of my little brother telling my mother about my crying, which would make mom come running to console me and feed me, made me comfortable. So he thought that he was now his eyes were moist. So his brother, who was younger to him, look at him, and he seems confused. So the author thought that it will mad him to come to a kitchen and tell this story to mom, and mom will come and console and feed him, and that thought made him comfortable. But it was not like that. But I was wrong. All my little unsympathetic brother did was to return with some more dal for himself. Then he climbed back into his chair with his legs hanging in the air, holding a spoon which he had still not learned to hold properly. He watched me sobbing as if nothing had happened. He was hopeless. So as he expected, it was not like that. His brother didn't even bother that his brother was crying and anything else, so it make him hopeless. I will never share my bicycle with you, I thought to myself while giving him the most disgusting look ever. Even that didn't seem to have any effect on him. So he thought that I will not share my bicycle with him. But I looked disguised at him, but it didn't affect him. And while I was thinking about him, I forget about crying. Mom called out from the kitchen asking me if I wanted more chapati. I didn't respond. She called out again. I still didn't respond. Finally, she came to the living room only to see my food until saw me crying silently, worried to see me that way. She ran toward me and took my hand. "Ki ho gaya beta? What is the matter, son?" she asked worried. I didn't say anything but wrapped my arms around her, and that's when I gave way to my feeling. I started crying loudly because I could not bear to be hungry anymore. My non-violent protest got washed away in a flood of tears. A little later, mom fed me with her hands. I felt cared for. As she fed me every bite. She explained to me that I had grown up enough and that I should understand our family financial condition. She offered me some water, and after I had taken a sip, she told me that I should not make demand for everything I wanted. All this while, as she kept talking to me and made me finish my dinner, I kept holding her chunni in my hands, feeling disappointed by her explanation. So when her mother came in the dining room to see uh, and see untouched food of him, so then and crying silently, so he came and inquired at what had happened. Then he started crying loudly and explained her, and her mother understand that he is crying because of bicycle. That time see, made him understand that you have grown up. You should understand our financial condition. You should not make a demand of everything you want like this. That night, laying in my bed, I thought of how I had wanted to respond to my mother when she had pointed out the boys in my class who didn't come to school on bicycle. I wanted to tell her that those boys didn't even need a bike. Their dads had a scooter every day. They would be dropped off to school on their scooter. It was embarrassing for me that my father didn't position, and from that embarrassment came hate. I hated my father because he was not a doctor or an engineer like my friend's father, just like the other boys of my class. I too wanted to stand in between my dad's legs when he would drive a scooter like them. I too wanted to press the horn and make the world get out of my way like them. I too wanted to let my classmates know that my father had dropped me off to school on his scooter, but I knew my father couldn't afford one, and so I was only asking for a bicycle. In the afternoon, when school got over, my friends would go back home in those nice box-shaped six-seater school rickshaw. Their dads would be busy at work and therefore couldn't turn up at school to pick them up. So they all enjoyed a leisurely rickshaw ride where Lu- luxury rickshaw ride where they chatted with each other and watched the world go by. They would all hang their water bottle down the rear grill and get into the rickshaw, after which the rickshaw puller would lock the door from inside the rickshaw. They all would look out and wave their hands out of those square windows, bidding goodbyes to the others. There were scores of rickshaws leaving from the school in the afternoon, and I would watch them all going away. All this while, I would keep holding my brother's hand, waiting for Dad to arrive on his bicycle to take us back home. Once my classmate Saurabh had asked me, तुम हमारे साथ रिक्शा में क्यों नहीं आते हो? Why don't you come along with us in a rickshaw? मेरे डैडी बोलते हैं रिक्शा वाले लेट कर देते हैं, हम साइकिल पे जल्दी घर पहुंच जाते हैं. My dad says rickshaw are usually late. We can reach home faster on bicycle. That day, I asked Dad to pedal his bicycle faster and we solved rickshaw so that I could prove to him that I was right. But deep inside, I was aware of the truth. The rickshaw puller charged 100 rupees per month per child. Our father couldn't have afforded a monthly rickshaw service for the two of us. Therefore, all I had asked for was a bicycle. But mom, while serving me food that night, had advised me to postpone this demand. I recalled my mother's word. I should understand our family financial condition and I should not be demanding. I kept thinking about it over and over again. I don't remember when sleep took over me. So he recalled all the thought that his friends were have a bicycle, and all his not all his friends, some of his friends had a bicycle, and some of come along with his father on the scooter, and some of them go on a rickshaw, but they couldn't her parents sorry his parents couldn't afford any of them because rickshaw charge 100 rupees per child, and they couldn't afford scooter and bicycle because of their financial problem. So her mom made him understand, console him. So he just wanted to share all of this thing to her mother, but while thinking all this, he just slept. And when he woke up next morning was the best morning of his life. I was riding my bicycle to school. I had hung my water bottle across the bicycle wheel on the right side of the handle. My school bag was safely tucked in the carrier behind me. I was the happiest kid in a town and was not able to contain my smile. On my way to school, I overtook some of my friends on their dads' scooter and few in those box-shaped rickshaws. Then I turned naughtily. I showed off my favorite stunt of letting go of the handle and pedaling the bicycle faster. I was on my hero. But I wanted to be everyone else's heroes as else hero as well. So I raced my bicycle into the school complex, leaving behind me a trail of wine and dust. I pushed up from my seat and pedaled the bicycle hard and fast, like no one had ever seen before. Without any hustle, I raced my bicycle all the way up the tall staircase. The crowd applauded. A lot of girls were cheering my name, Ravinder, Ravinder. Acknowledging them with a passing smile, I raised the front wheel of my bicycle on the railing of a staircase. My next stand was going to be apply a quickly brake and bring the bicycle to a skiding halt just at the precipice of the staircase. Exactly at that moment, I hear my mother call out, "Urja, school jana hai, wake up, you have to go to school." So next morning, it was a wonderful morning for him because it was it he saw a dream, and it was all about bicycle, that he had a bicycle, he is running bicycle and overtaking everyone else, rickshaw, scooter and all those things, and showing some of the stunt also, and girls is cheering his name, Ravinder, and he saw some of the stunt and apply brake and stop on the staircase. But exactly that moment, her mom called out, and he realized that it was just a dream, and it was all over. I was back in a bed in my daily vest and pajama on my way to school while my father pedaled his bicycle. I asked him, "Iggal, पूछना daddy, may I ask you something daddy?" "पूछ," he answered without paying me much attention. "To see मन्नो साइकिल ले दोगे की? Will you get me a bicycle?" The unfulfilled desire for a bicycle had not dampened my competitiveness competitive spirit at school. By the end of class 6, first was very close to being declared the winning rate. But Hindi turned out to be my big link, just 5 more marks, and I would have been able to make my parents proud. I had worked very hard this time, interestingly, and quite contrary to my expectation, my parents were not a lot happier this time. However, I was not happy. Blame it on the competitiveness that had by then so badly become a part of my mental structure. But I failed to be happy despite coming second in my entire class. I only realized this when my parents smiled on looking at my mark sheet. I reminded them that I hadn't come first. Yet mom patted me on the back, and so did dad. That made me feel good about myself, even though I was not happy with my result. I was happy because my parents were finally happy. Being inches close to your goal may have any one of these two impacts on your mind. One, you grow complacent at the thought that you have almost reached your goal and will soon get there quite or easily, or else that you work harder to sustain your current position while making calculated progress toward the final goal. My parents were behavior in the second impact. My parents were believer believers in second impact. Unfortunately, I belonged to the first school of thought that I would easily make it to the top sooner or later. But that year, as per my mother's wishes, studying my curriculum for class 7th did not wait till the school reopened after the vacation. It began right in the middle of the summer vacation. While I stayed at home, I was made to go through the entire Bal Bharti, the Hindi literature next textbook, and Vyakran, the Hindi grammar textbooks. I enjoyed reading a story in Bal Bharti, but the ghost of the Vyakran just flew over my head, and because I believed in being complacent, I decided to take Hindi less seriously when the book were later being taught in class. Big mistake. By the time I realized how seriously it was going to affect my result, it was already too late. Within 7 months of getting a pat on my back from my parents, I once again become the reason behind their sadness and frustration. No, I didn't do badly in my final exam. The final were still a few months away, but I did very badly in my half early monthly exams. From the second position, I slipped down to the seventh in a matter of 7 months. I remember how I declared revealing my marks to my parents. I could not escape it. For the test, papers had to be assigned by my parents and returned to school. At one point, I at one point I even planned to sign them on my own, but stopped myself from doing so at the last moment. Those few days I lived in a terror of receiving my parents' scolding, and the very next week my fears came true. There was a parents teacher meeting in our school. Despite all my efforts to maneuvers my mother's away from the Hindi teacher, the inevitable happened. The rest of my week turned into a disaster zone. No more playing in the evening, get up early in the morning and studying. Mom instructed me strictly after I came back from school. It felt like a social boycott. My playtime was reduced from 2 hours to just one. Everything I wished for in life was now connected with my result. You will only get your bicycle when you study hard and get good result. What? People who didn't score top marks didn't ride bicycle? I was still the same boy who had done wonderfully in the last final exam and made his parents proud. And they were the same parents who had patted their son on his back. How come then that our relationship had suddenly come to this? After a point, I started losing all my self confidence. I felt I was good for a nothing. I was good for a nothing. The fact that I was still better than at least 20 students in my class failed to hold up my spirit. My father, who only till a week before had believed that I would make him proud, started opening, lamenting that his dream might never come true. And to add to my misery, the Chitra, her music program started airing this new song twice a week on the Doordarshan with lyrics that went, Papa कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा बेटा हमारा ऐसा काम करेगा. Talk about wrong timing, man. Again, the race to better brought about one more challenge for me. At the parents teacher meeting, my class teacher and my mother mutually agreed to the Hindi teacher's proposal of shifting me to the first bench in a class. All three of them believed that it would have a positive effect on my contra- concentration levels. I wonder, with that logic, should there be any benches in the classroom from the second row onward at all? So, this was all about this story that after that dream, he failed, not failed, but he got the seventh position in his midterm exam. And then there was a parent teacher meeting. He feels so disappointed and even thought of sign that result by himself. And that his mother met to a Hindi literature teacher and mutually decided that he will sit on the first desk, and it will help him to concentrate more. That it made him to think that with that logic there will be any benches in the classroom from the second row onward, because if every child mom want to be a got a first position in class, so say they would want that their child sit on the only first desk for the better consideration, and like this who will sit in the second, third and fourth and onward. So this was all about this, and it is really heart touching that we all parents want to come us first. So who will come second, third and fourth and onwards? So it is not about result in my opinion, but we should put a effort to achieve well, but it should be not connected to only result, that if you will do better in the exam then you will get a bicycle and that whole thing. I hope you also didn't think so. If you so you can comment in the comment section, and please like, subscribe and share with your friends to connect their child story, and they can reflect in their childhood and easily can connect with this story. I hope so. So till then, bye bye, take care. We will meet tomorrow in the next chapter, that is Ninth chapter, A Change of School.